This assignment will teach you how the Apply Entity Access feature works in a microflow. The goal is to understand why and when you should enable this feature. The Total Order Counter microflow calculates the total number of orders and displays a pop-up window with the counter value. Before you begin the assignment, notice that this restriction for the customer user is in the Orders entity. This restriction ensures that customers will see only their own orders. You will add the Total Order Counter microflow to the navigation dashboard and observe what the counter will be with Apply Entity Access set to Yes and No. The purpose of this assignment is to observe what the Apply Entity Access setting does in a microflow. As you go through the assignment, observe the counter behavior and retrieve behaviors. In addition, observe the results and make sure you understand how the retrieve action is executed and where security is applied. Let's look at how to do this assignment. First, go to the navigation and add the Total Order Counter microflow found in the Security module. Add the caption Order Count and use any glyph icon you'd like. Next, run the app and log in as the customer George McFly with the password Mendix. Click My Orders and ensure that you can see how many orders you have in the background. Now click Order Count and observe how the number of orders is different from the counter number from the microflow. This is because the Apply Entity Access feature is disabled. Therefore, the retrieve action will retrieve all the orders and give you the counter. We need to see what happens if we set the Apply Entity Access to Yes. So go to the Total Order Counter microflow and configure that in the microflow properties. Run the app again and log in as George McFly. Click My Orders and ensure that you can see how many orders you have in the background. Next, click Order Count and observe how the count of total orders matches the number of orders that you see. While Apply Entity Access is set to Yes on the Total Order Counter microflow, let's see what happens if we change the security permission on the counter entity. The current security settings for the entity are set so that the customer can create new objects, and they have full read and full write permissions to the counter attribute. To change this, clear the Allow Creating New Objects checkbox. Run the app again and log in as George McFly. Now click Order Count to trigger the Save microflow that calculates the total orders. Observe that there is a user-friendly error stating that the counter failed for security reasons. In the microflow, you have a Create Counter activity, which causes the microflow to fail. So go back to the entity and check Allow Creating New Objects. Change the access from Read-Write to Read-Only. Then run the app again and log in as George McFly. Click Order Count to trigger the microflow, then observe the error message, which is not as user-friendly as the previous one. You'll need to look at the console or the log files to troubleshoot this. By looking at the console, you can see that write access denied for member counter means that you do not have write permissions on that attribute. The failure is at the create action, because you're also updating the counter attribute to the count variable. In conclusion, it is important to understand when Apply Entity Access should be set to Yes in a microflow and to be mindful of the kinds of errors that can occur.